Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Corey, better known as the Seaman, and I want to welcome you back to the Seaman's Margarita Monday Meetups. It's been a while, like 2.5, almost 3 weeks ago. We had my good friend Mike Driscoll on talking about animation. Then Mike kind of wasn't feeling real well, so we stopped, and we're going to come back to it some other point. It did take a couple more weeks for us to kind of reschedule. I figured I would have had some other interviews. I didn't. My work life has sucked lately. Stuff that we have going on there, it's just very, very like intensive and focused. So, I mean, you all know. I've had a big dip in videos in general the last few weeks, but things are slowing down at work. Mike is feeling better. Mike is back. Let's introduce good old Mr. Mike Driscoll back here. How you doing, buddy? Good to have you back on the show. Are you feeling better?
I'm alive.
That's good.
Look, it wasn't COVID, nothing like that. Nothing.
Yeah,
I'm completely fine. Yeah, I found out that air circulation in a room is essential. That's what I found out.
Now, you say in a room. Are you in the same room last time we talked? Because it looks very, very different, but that door is in the same place.
Yes, I've been very busy. Redecorated the room, the whole new setup, painted,
Check you out.
Yeah, so everything's new and everything's more professional, and I'm really happy.
You look and sound much happier and better than you were at the end of our conversation last time.
Sound less dead? Yeah.
Yes, a little bit. Actually, and speaking of last time, there is actual conversation that did not go up the way I had kind of edited it. I thought I would be able to get it like all together and look clean, but it didn't. So why don't we treat all you lovely people to the end of our first conversation before Mike got sick, and then we will come back and legitimately finish our conversation with the one and only Mr. Mike Driscoll. So past Mike and C-Man, why don't you take it away? Essentially, Steamboat Willie, like that animation was draw first frame, draw the second frame, draw the third frame, and that made the movement occur.
Right. Absolutely. So, it's something you either love. It's very, very tedious.
Yeah.
It's something you love, or something like, look, it's just not me. Everyone has their own. Everyone has their own way of doing things.
Right.
And I fell in love with 3D animation. I fell in love with 3D animation from The Incredibles. I saw that movie and I was like, this is what I want to do. And I was very late to the game.
Good.
It's so good.
You want to talk about evolution?
Yeah.
Very much like Toy Story. You look at 1 versus 2. It is crazy how good the animation is in the second one.
It's fantastic.
Like the color usage and the shadowing. Like that's the thing that I've noticed, and I could be wrong, but I feel like some of the shadow technology is one of the things that's really, really advanced. I want to say that's what How to Train Your Dragon Hidden World, I think they took like this big evolutionary step. I think it was in like the shadowing and the lighting. But like when you all of a sudden are able to like actually create what real light does and the way real light reflects and how it creates shadows, and you start hitting that on the head, it's wild how realistic these things are, even when they look cartoonish, right? Like the Incredibles, they're cartoons. They look like cartoons, but they look like you could touch them. Like it's crazy.
Absolutely. I mean, even if you look at the CG effects, not only for the animation, but you're going to CG effects like the Harry Potter films. Now, Harry Potter films are great. Yeah. But there's a big difference when you watch Harry Potter, the first one, compared to the third, or the seventh one, eighth one.
Yeah, whatever the last one.
But even comparing like Harry Potter films to The Mandalorian or whatever, whatnot. Yeah. There's a big difference. You see the evolution. You can see like, okay, that's big, obviously, and the technology moves so much quicker because we've become more advanced. Now, look, a couple of years ago, this is a little computer, But if you go to a couple of years ago, when I was growing up and I was a kid, I had a beeper. You know what I'm saying? And it's not that far away. It's the same thing. Our technology has evolved.
It's wild.
And it's very mind-blowing.
Well, I like that you mentioned The Mandalorian, because even though like we're just talking animation, the the way they're able to build special effects now. Like, have you seen any of the docus that are on Disney Plus for The Mandalorian's first season?
I haven't had a chance to explore it yet.
So they use this new LED technology where the entire show is shot on a soundstage, but it's not green screen. It's this kind of like domed looking screen that kind of creates a full 360 environment.
Mm-hmm.
And they're using computer video game processing to render their backgrounds like almost instantaneously. So instead of it being a green screen behind the Mandalorian, what you see behind him is actually being projected onto a screen, so that when he turns, he sees what we see.
Mm-hmm.
It's wild. Like, Jon Favreau, this guy is gonna go down as one of the greatest like inventive like creators of all time. Like, what he figures out with technology, I mean, to pull off The Lion King, to pull off, what he does with like what they came up with for Mandalorian. Like, every time he's coming up with movies, man, like, it just, like, the evolution of the technology that he starts playing with, and he's like the first one to play with, it's like, it's that groundbreaking stuff. And like, I can't remember what the name of it is, but there's a docu-series right now on Disney Plus. I think it's 8 episodes that chronicles the making of The Mandalorian. It's really, really cool. I've only watched 1 or 2 eps. But like it's great. Like, they're rendering these backgrounds like instantly. And then they can, like, if they put it up on the screen and they're like, oh, we should turn this like 3 degrees and bring this up, and like, they can do it right away, and then it's actually physically behind it. Like, it's wild. But like you said, like, just like CGI and whatnot, and what we can do, like, people talk about like Thanos, like, you believe that purple dude is real, like, he's actually there, and really it's just a cartoon, like a drawing of his, it's a picture of his head on a stick, in real life. But the I was at the drive-in recently, double feature, Jurassic Park, Jaws. It is insane how well Jaws held up a lot better on the big screen than I anticipated it to look. Like, it still looked pretty good. Like, even though the mechanical shark, like, is obviously a mechanical shark, like, it still played really well on the big screen. But Jurassic Park looks like it was made yesterday. It is crazy how well those visuals hold up. Like usually you watch, like, you pop on like a sci-fi movie or something with heavy visual effects from like 2000. It looks bad. Like, it looks like their old visual effects. And Jurassic Park was 1993. I tell you, man, it's been so long since we last talked. I forgot that our animation conversation grew out of 3D animation into like a little bit of 2D with Spider-Verse, and then we started talking about I started talking about Jurassic Park because I had just seen that at the drive-in, and that albeit it's visual effects, movie stuff, it's still animation, and those dinosaurs look amazing. But I want to refocus us, Mike. The whole concept of why I wanted you on the first time was to talk about animated 3D animation in particular, because that is your realm of expertise. And we touched on Toy Story, but I think over the years, I'm sure for you, just like me, there have been a bunch of 3D animated movies and series that have come out that I just adore and I watch repeatedly. And some of it is because the story is great. Some of it's because the animation is just mind-blowingly good, to the point where, like, especially in a series, say like Toy Story, you go from 1 to 4, just watching the evolution of the animation is amazing. So, not being Toy Story and refocusing ourselves back on 3D animation, what is one of your all-time favorite 3D animated like movies or series that kind of you always gravitate towards wanting to watch to help inspire yourself, or just enjoy putting on, whether it's with you or the family?
I got into animation very late in life, so it wasn't like Toy Story and everything exploded. I got into animation with The Incredibles, and I saw The Incredibles. It literally the artistic the stylized was something I'd never seen before.
Yeah.
The whole storyline was something I'd never seen before. I'm very much, if I haven't seen it before, and it's unique, I'm attracted to it.
Yeah.
So that was something that, again, it was just I gravitated. I'm into superheroes. It had to do with family. Animation was fantastic, and it's still one of my all-time faves. But the evolution of that, and then going into Incredibles 2, and the animation, and just the story, again, the continued storyline of family and stuff like that. It's incredible. Like you said, the evolution, it's just jumped leaps to bounds, and it's still, I'm sorry to use those words, but incredible.
No, use all the puns, Mike. We like puns over here. That's my zone. But no, I totally agree with you. Obviously, like for me, Toy Story was my into 3D animation. I was a huge animated, kid growing up. Every Disney movie known to mankind I watched. And the minute Pixar was like, hey, look what we can do with animation, I remember being a kid when that movie came out and going, wait, what? Huh? It's like my video games, but like 10 times better. And that was exciting. But by the time you got to the Incredibles, the Disney and the Pixar, I think at that point I think Disney had bought Pixar, and
roundabout
right around then, right? So but like that animation style obviously was something that was going on. Like there had been multiple of those, and when that movie came out, same thing. Like, you all know me, I'm the biggest superhero nerd on the planet some days. So when I saw, I was like, oh my gosh, Disney's doing an animated superhero movie. This is awesome. And it's about a family, and it kind of looks like the Fantastic Four. And to this point, like, I didn't really have much in that realm. And Brad Bird did everything that you could ever want anybody to do for for this type of a movie, and specifically something that felt like the Fantastic Four. The usage and the creativeness in using their powers and taking the animation to enhance what you were watching was so good in that first one. Then you're off for a long time before Brad comes back for number 2. And when he does, I kind of pinpoint Incredibles 2 is kind of the start of this this next wave of the way animation is looking, like where it really, really pops in a way where when you go back and you look at the old film and come back to something newer, like you see that big drastic jump. And Incredibles 2 was that kind of first jump that propelled all of these things that we've seen recently, from like, whether it was Frozen 2 or, the How to Train Your Dragon series, like all these new movies where the animation kept leveling and leveling. And like we were saying last time, it's kind of become a competition. Everybody wants to one up each other in the animation game. And Incredibles 2 was kind of that launch point for that next phase in how good animation could look. And it was, again, like I kind of mentioned last time, the play with shadows, but just the play with the family. Like the story just pulls you into those movies. And then to be as creative as they are, specifically for me, my favorite in that realm is the use of Elastigirl in Incredibles 2. Like, mind-blowing stuff. Like, I'm sure I'm not the only person to ever say this, but like, hey, Disney, you already have Brad Bird. When you want to bring back the Fantastic Four, can you have him do it? Because he made the best Fantastic Four movies that were ever made, and they're not even Fantastic Four movies.
I will say they actually ruined the Fantastic Four because Incredibles was so good, and you're like, well, okay, we tried the Fantastic Four once, and it was okay. You went back to it again, and it was like,
yeah.
And then you did it the third time, and you're like, I'm sorry, like it was just completely bad, and you can't top it. I'm sorry, like it hasn't happened.
It will make it so difficult to pull off a Fantastic Four movie without because one, the audience that's there for the Fantastic Four are all already Incredibles fans, right? Yes. Like your superhero audience more than likely are Incredibles fans, which means if you do Fantastic Four again, you have to do better than the Incredibles. I think that's a very difficult task. And if there was anybody that was going to do it, it'd be the guy who topped Incredibles with Incredibles 2 with Brad Bird. He understands that concept of the family and how to utilize them with their powers so well.
But at the same time, how many Spider-Man movies have we had? All right, so we had the first one, we had the reboot.
That's fair.
Reboot to the reboot, and then you topped it all off with Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, look.
So how do you again? It's just like this was good, this was not so good, this was fantastic, and then into Spider-Verse you went above.
Yeah.
So it can be done in reverse.
It can.
Maybe.
And if there's, it totally can. If there's anybody that's going to do it, it's gonna be Kevin Feige and the MCU. But I mean, like, you got a guy who already knows how to handle all this shit, like, really, really well in your backyard. Just pluck him when it comes time. Be like, Brad, we're upgrading you to live action. Show us what Fantastic Four should really look like. And I do. I trust Feige inherently. I think when they bring those characters back, they're going to do it in ways that get people excited. I would just personally love to see Brad Bird take that on if he wanted to, because he certainly crushed it in The Incredibles. Now, talking animated series, I snuck it in there when I was talking about The Incredibles. One of my all-time favorites has become the How to Train Your Dragon movies.
Mm-hmm.
That first How to Train Your Dragon just kind of pulls you in from, the standpoint of the story. I just think the story is really easy to latch onto. It's a great family flick. But again, the animation was something when, like, those movies came out, we really hadn't had an experience of what it was like to fly on a dragon per se, and like a really kind of like first person type view. And those movies gave you the feeling, even though they were animated, of what it was like to fly on a dragon, or just fly on any kind of a creature that could take you up into the clouds and dive bomb toward the water. And all that stuff was just exquisitely beautiful. And every iteration of the movies since then have built upon that, even building on the Netflix, TV show, to when you get to Hidden World. I cried. It was so freaking beautiful when they fly into the Hidden World and all those lights light up. Like, it shows you, again, I constantly go back to lighting, but lighting seems to enhance the animation when it's hit right. Like, if you know how to light up something animated, it can pop so much better. If you know how to play with the shadows, it can pop so much better. And again, it's one of those scenarios where it's like these external things around the characters look so realistic. I mean, water animation is one of those things I'm just constantly fascinated by, because it's gotten so good. But they also still kind of play in that where it's like it's tangible. It looks like you could touch it, but it's still animated.
Absolutely.
Not quite to like where I was talking with Scoob, where Scoob kind of still felt like 2D in 3D. It doesn't feel that way, but it's still a cartoon movie. It has all the fun and the vibrance of a cartoon movie that's not trying to 100% look real, but it looks freaking fantastic. I love those movies.
Yeah, I mean, the lighting is essential with anything in 3D animation. It's definitely a part of it. Without lighting, it could really ruin a movie, like you just said. Going back to the water aspect, is very interesting because it's an element, but you can't control it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You go into the ocean, obviously you're not able to control the water, whatnot. So you really have to play off on something that is unpredictable, and you have to simulate that unpredictability. For instance, like Frozen 2. Wasn't really a big fan of Frozen 2. The storyline, it kind of fell off for me, but whatever.
You're crazy. I cried like a baby.
I like the first one better. That's
fine. I'm just busting your balls. I sobbed like a child.
It just didn't do anything for me. But the water is unreal. When she starts, trying to freeze the water, trying to get it over, you have the sense of like, oh my God, she's going to drown.
Yeah.
She's a 3D animation. She doesn't have life per se. But you were just like, oh my God, what's the name? Elsa. Right?
Yeah, Elsa. Yeah.
Oh my God, she's in trouble. And then the water horse, yada, yada, yada. But it was like, oh my God, she's in danger.
Yeah.
She's not real, wake up. But again, the water looks so real, and it's in a simulation of something unpredictable and not, how do I put this? Again, you can't control it, and it's just, you really have to study your subject.
Well, I mean, I could be wrong, but I would assume that the thought process behind something as big as water in animated movies back in the day was probably similar in the thought process of like, I'm in a stadium that has to be filled with tens of thousands of people. Like, you build out enough of it where it's like, okay, this looks really good. Now let's replicate it over here, over here, over here, and over here. And that can work, to some degree for like a stadium shot. But like you said, the unpredictability of water, you can't have water like a wave comes over here and the same time a wave comes over here, that same wave is also over here. It doesn't look right. And I love that you bring up Frozen 2 because the very first teaser we got was only that scene. It was Elsa running up into the water, getting knocked back down, running up into the water, trying to freeze it. And it was the perfect thing to launch with, just to get something out there early, because that's the thing that you immediately want to talk about is, oh my God, did you see how realistic that was? I thought she was on a bench with an actual ocean in front of her with like waves coming at a character that doesn't exist in the real world. Like it was the perfect thing to launch from. But again, if we're talking about the Frozen movies, specifically Frozen 2, where you see that kind of level up in the animation game. One, something we haven't really talked too much about, hair. The hair in Frozen 2 is so tight. Like it looks like you can see every strand of Elsa's hair, specifically when she undoes, like she lets her hair down and you're like, holy crow. Like, I mean, we've seen Disney do hair, I mean, they did the Rapunzel movie, Tangled. Like we've seen hair and lots of hair and all of it has to be moving and look, but like this was something different. But again, the lighting aspect when Elsa is down in like that cavern and it's all black, all dark and black around her, and then everything starts lighting up with her powers. You just sit there and you're like, well, it's, I had a very similar feeling to how I felt when the Hidden World happened in Hidden World. Like all of a sudden, all this stuff started lighting up. I was like, oh my gosh, this is beautiful. And, you also have Idina Menzel just crushing a song while all these beautiful things are happening. But like, yeah, it's just another one where like you can see the jumps in the animation. And it's like the studios know which movies to pick to be like, hey, we're doing something different. Oh man, we're elevating like an element that hasn't been elevated before. And they put it on the movies that should be the movies to carry them. If Universal's going to show something crazy, they're going to Hidden World or to How to Train Your Dragon. Disney, it's going to pop on Frozen or on Toy Story. Like, I like that, like, when we see these things happen, they get put into things that the fans are looking for or excited about. And then not just are you excited about the movie, but then you get hit with this animation that's just so beautiful. And you're like, oh, they did it again. Like, I just love that. And I like the fact, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, let me put it in perspective. Like, it's the computer and the technology are a tool. Okay, and that will always be a tool. So you can only do so much with that tool. But the person behind that technology, the creative juices, the new person comes in, straight from college or whatever, whatnot, has a different perspective on how to use that tool, or even an update of said tool. So even that, combined with the new technology, is going to up your game tenfold. Sure. So, like I said, it's, I can have all the technology in the world and not know how to use it, or use it correctly. You give me a hammer and I'm like, well, what do I do with this thing? But again, you give me a computer program and I can do a lot of things. Yeah. You need the right person for the job. And if you can get the right person who's really into lighting, you can make magic. Yeah. And you can get the right person to do the modeling. You can make magic. Put those two people together, and that is the illusion is almost set. Yeah. And that's exactly what it is. It's an illusion. And I don't mean to degrade it as anything else, because a lot of people, if you're not in the industry or know how to use these set tools, like I said, I can model something like we were talking about, a hand or something like that, and you see all the wrinkles and all the curves and all these different things. I can model it and I can spend hours, or I can send it into another program and it looks like I'm modeling and it's just complete illusion, and you're like, what happened? Again, this is the what's the word I'm looking for?
All right.
This is the inside scoop kind of thing. So again, I'm using my hand as a model, and all reason being because you're looking at it, oh my God, it looks so real. And I can bring it into a program. You're like, that doesn't look like the same hand, and I'll do something else, and it's the same hand.
Oh yeah. But I like that you touch on like the idea of like younger people coming into into the world of animation and bringing new ideas and flavors, and that again kind of plays into what we were talking about before too, where it's like it just feels like these different studios. Like, I mean, there's always been that studio battle and war, and we know who the big studios are. But what's fun is it seems like in the world of movies, you're always kind of seeing the same kind of names pop up. But the animation, we're getting all these like animation just coming from everywhere, and it doesn't matter if it's coming from one of the top studios or it's coming from somewhere smaller, like even something completely different, like say Kubo and the Thousand Strings or whatever, like where you're doing this.
T-Rings? I don't know.
But like where you're doing that stop motion
it's
animation, yeah, but like where you're doing like that stop motion animation stuff, like it's a real small run animation house that is really like the only place that still does it. So like the fact that everybody just keeps kind of elevating the game and upping the ante when an animated movie comes out, like that competition is so fierce right now. It's just producing content and quality that is like every time I see a movie, I'm like, holy crow, man. I mean, even just inside of some place like say Universal, right? Like Illumination is their go-to, but they also have DreamWorks. So you have two animation studios that are competing with each other inside of the same company, where it's like, we saw, like How to Train Your Dragon or the Minions movies with Gru, Despicable Me movies.
Despicable Me.
Right? And like they all have very specific kind of feels and looks to it. And then you see something like Abominable come out, which it was, I want to say that one might have been DreamWorks. I don't think that was Illumination.
That was DreamWorks.
But, yeah. You see something like Abominable, which isn't a property that like has an established, group where it's like, hey, like, because a lot of these production companies too, that we're at that point, we're serializing and giving people the things that they like the most, are beneficial. And it's like, well, Abominable, this is just a one-off movie. There's no universe of and you just sit there and they just came up with this really, really creative thoughts, not just to the animation, but what to do with it, right? It's like, I think that's another element of the game and animation is it's not just how good it looks, it's what can we do with an animated movie that will wow people. And if you've seen Abominable out there, people, that like Abominable he has these powers. Everest, rather, is his name. He has these powers that allow him to control a lot of different elements of the world around him. Where it's like he can turn a rolling field of daisies into an ocean of daisies, and like it just played with all these different things I had never seen. The way you could just play with the world around him, and that like the animation is good, but like that creativeness and thought to do something you haven't seen before is also what makes you wow. And I guess we have a guest star.
It was only so long,
right? I know we were hanging on.
What? It was only so long.
If you're gonna pop on to the show, I need you to say hello.
You can be on.
You can say hi.
All right.
What's going on, buddy?
Hi.
How are you? You are on YouTube right now. How's that feel?
What?
Yeah, you were on the YouTube, my man.
Yes, you're on the show.
Are you a fan of? Do you like animated movies?
Yes.
What's your favorite animated movie of all time?
What's your favorite movie? Come on. You don't know?
If I was coming over and I was like, "Hey, I want to watch a movie," what movie are we watching?
Probably the Minions.
Yeah.
Oh, I love them.
Let me just introduce everybody. This is my son Zachary.
Zachary, how's it going, buddy?
He loves YouTube and dying to be on and
Hey,
snuck on the show.
I
like balloon.
I love the out of left field nature of the world. So I love surprises. Zachary, thank you so much for stopping by.
You want to say thank you?
Thank you.
Maybe next time I talk to your dad, we'll talk about the Minions and you can come on.
All right, come on, go. All right.
Go?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, I'll see you later, okay?
Bye, Zach. Gotta love those spur of the moment. I never get guests who just drop into the show, so that's kind of fun. Also the real life nature of the world we live in.
God bless parenthood. I heard him. I was like, he can't resist.
Yeah, it's
he's dying.
It's totally fine, man. I'm telling you, when this is up on YouTube and you're able to go back and be like, look, there you are, he's going to geek out so hard. Like that 2 minutes we just gave him probably scored you a lot of points. But also a good way to kind of break us out of the more than likely rambling hole of animation we were going to go down. I know you got a lot going on today. I've got a bunch too, so I don't want to hold us up too much longer. But I do know that 2 or 3 weeks ago, we teased the world a lot that you had an announcement, that you had something you were working on. My goal was to convince you to tell me that 2 weeks ago, and then, things went the way they went. So here we are now, 2 weeks later.
It's anticipation.
Mike,
I was building on anticipation. That's why I got it.
And we've made that anticipation build probably just terribly long for people who were like interested in like, oh man, I can't wait to hear what this is. So we're all these weeks after the first time we sat down. Can you tell everybody what you were working on, sir?
Yes, absolutely. I am working on a 3D animated YouTube series. Okay, it's called Into the Dangerverse, and it's the literal making of Ranger Danger. Now, if anyone knows who Ranger Danger is, which I probably think you don't.
Good amount of people that are probably watching this channel know who Ranger Danger is.
It's you know what? It's a one-note joke and a T-shirt and a Kevin Smith movie. And if you miss it, it's okay, because guess what? A lot of people did. So, as a matter of fact, I have that same T-shirt right here.
Oh, that's awesome.
So that's been signed by Kevin Smith, and that's me with Kevin Smith, the director.
I was actually, this day that image is from, was a signing in Red Bank at the Stash, and is the place where I first physically met Mike Driscoll. We had been Twitter buddies for a little while, but that was our first like kind of real life hangout. Like, oh my gosh, you are a real person.
I am.
I remember how nervous you were that day, because like we had kind of talked a little bit beforehand about how you had just kind of said, you know what, Evan, I'm gonna try to do this thing, and then that was your day. That was the day I think this all kind of came together for you, where it's like, I've been working on this. I'm gonna show it to Kev and see what he says, and how. I'm assuming that since you're doing this YouTube series, and also I know what happened, I assume that meeting was inspirational or beneficial for you that day.
Absolutely. That day will live in my mind and infamy. It's a day that I can never describe as a fan, because I've been working on this project for about 5 years, and you just don't know what's going to happen, and you're afraid of saying anything because, oh my God, someone's going to steal it. Now, granted, it's not my property whatsoever. It's Kevin's property.
The only person stealing here, Mike, was you.
Yeah, So, but I wanted to make this a reality. That's the main point. And the main point of this series is the literal making of the animated short. And if anything sparks up after it, so be it. And if nothing happens to it, and I have the short, that's my end goal.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
So instead of like when movies come out, and let's say Frozen, okay, Frozen comes out, and you see the majesty of the animation, and then a couple of months later they said, oh, this is the making of Frozen, and this is how we made everything. This is what we drew. This is what the characters we came up with. The end all, the very beginning to the very end.
Yeah. And
then you have the end production. So I'm just literally taking the making of it, making it a series, and then the end production is the actual short. So this is my exclusive, and I'm really excited for it.
I never get exclusives.
This is the exclusive. No, very few people have known that. As a matter of fact, when I met Kevin and I gave him 2 still shots of my version of Ranger Danger and his version of Ranger Danger. And I'll tell you the story. It's really it's kind of interesting.
It's gonna be the next thing I asked you.
Yeah, my version, it's a red and white colored of Ranger Danger, and his blue and orange. And I was like, why'd you choose blue and orange? Now I know how much Kevin loves the Great White North of Canada, so that's why I picked red and white. And he goes, well, I went with Edmonton Oilers colors.
Yep.
And I go, man, my
Also
shot
Canada.
wasn't too far away.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, I was like, oh,
You
man,
went.
it's so
You went
close.
for all of Canada when you should have just been zoning in on like one part of Canada.
Yeah, one part. I mean, come on. I did my research. I wasn't, but so when I met Kevin and I proposed to this, I was like, look, I'm making an animation, and he kind of sort of gave me his blessing. And and again, I don't really, when I met him, it was like, oh, he says this to everybody or whatever, not, and I just want to do it for him.
Mm-hmm.
This is not like, oh, this is my jumping off point, I'm going to get rich. No, this is just, if this happens, great. This is my love, my passion, and my journey.
Well,
and everybody who's, been with me, like yourself, I'm not an island. I've had people come with me. I'm like, yes, come along with to me on this journey. And this is exactly what I want to document.
Well,
yes, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say what is cool, and I'm probably talking to a good portion of the people that are watching this already know this, but for people who aren't like the big time Kevin Smith fans, like what is cool with Kev is he loves the fact that the fans have given him the career that he has. He loves that, but he loves trying to help people create. And if that means sometimes utilizing his stuff for him, sometimes he takes those things. I mean, some of the old school animations started because people on the blogs were like, hey, look at the animation I did or stuff like that. And he feeds on those types of things. So hopefully, if things go the right route, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibilities that he could get excited or be like, oh man, like this is cool. Like we've seen him do that in the past. So it's nice to feel like you can try to do something like that and not piss the guy off who owns the property, because fans have done a lot of fan type stuff in the past. And when you showed him your fan creation, what did he say to you?
Not to cut you off, but like I said, it was very much in passing. When you meet Kevin, you have this 5-minute personal time with him, especially in a VIP setting like what we did, standing in line for about 12 hours, I think it was.
Something like that.
And you get 5 minutes, and trust me, that 5 minutes it feels 12 hours. I mean, he's on focus on you. This is your time. This is you. And some people proposed, some people did what I did, and whatnot. So when he's like, go for it. And again, I took it with a grain of salt because I'm very humble. And when he said, go for it, I'm like, okay, I'll just keep on working with this.
Mike, what came before the go for it? Like, did he go like, oh my God, this is like the worst thing I've ever seen in my life? Or like, was he excited?
But it was almost like, if I can equate it to something else, like Kevin and Ben Affleck reuniting, okay? And nobody knows this story. It was very much in passing, where he was making Reboot, and Ben Affleck caught wind of it, and he's like, well, no one's called me yet. Why, I'd love to be on being in the movie. And Kevin's like, yeah, well, he was doing an interview, and it was just basically very passe. And that's the fact he didn't believe him, but it's like, this is what they all say. And again, I don't know Kevin from a hole in the wall.
Yeah.
So when he gave me his blessing, I kind of just took it as Kevin being nice. And not for nothing, the guy is uber nice. The guy is really like, he's genuine. And you know that from me.
I do. But again, what did he say when you showed him the artwork? Like he had to, like, because like I got in that day, I got into Kev before you did.
Yes.
And I didn't have anything to give him or anything like that. I just told him, like, how he's been an inspiration, things that people tell him all the time, and then what I was starting to work on. And just telling him that, listening to him talk about making movies, maybe want to try to write a movie, he lit up like a Christmas tree. And I wasn't even bringing anything to him that was like close to his heart. So you showed him something that is close to his heart that no one has really done anything with before. What did he say to you?
The 3 words he said was, "Oh my God."
Thank you. That you got to lead with that, man. Like, I know he's like, and I know you're super humble, but like, this is a guy that you've adored I mean, much like myself, this is your first instance of meeting him, and you've got this nervous like energy of what's he gonna say when I show. I want to know what he said.
I was a bundle of nerves.
Right?
Bundle. My wife texted me and she's like, you know, again, I had to tell the whole story because I'm reliving it and getting goosebumps. My wife, I'm like maybe 15 feet away from Kevin Smith. And, you know, this is the pinnacle of, you know, he's taught me how to have a why not life. And this is the pinnacle of being having a why not life. And my wife texted me, she's like, don't get nervous, or don't, oh God, what did she say? Don't, you have a nervous laugh or something like that. And I go, we've been together for 20 years. Now you freaking tell me. I was like, oh my God. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, I have a nervous laugh. What's with that? And I probably used it like 20 times.
It's like that glass breaking moment from How I Met Your Mother, where it's like, oh yeah, like you do this, and all of a sudden, like now everybody realizes that that's the annoying thing they do, and the glass shatters, and you're like, oh no, like
I wanted to love her so much and divorce her. I was like, what are you doing? You destroyed my life. What's wrong with you? So yeah, the words. So when I presented to Kevin, he was very, very positive, and he loved it. And it wasn't the fact of that meeting; it was the follow-up 6 months later.
Oh yeah, that's right. You went to the roadshow, right?
The roadshow. Now this one was very, very significant in really continuing and putting the pedal to the metal. So 6 months later, my wife surprises me with tickets to go see a reboot, maybe about a half hour away from where I live, and the VIP tickets. I was like, oh my God, this is fantastic. It was an early birthday present, right before we went down in quarantine. And so we see the movie, he does a quick Q&A, and he's like, oh, okay, so VIP, but come and see me. Now, I don't have anything because this was last minute.
Yeah.
So I'm unprepared. I'm like, well, you know, I'll meet Kevin. He's like, again, the amount of marijuana he smokes and the amount of people he meets.
Yeah.
He is no way
going to remember you. Yeah.
No way. And I was like, look, I'm not expecting anything. Cool, no problem. I got my movie, I got my Q&A, and I got to meet Kevin Smith again. And you know what? I get to share it with my wife.
And
that was most important for me.
I can tell you, he does not remember everybody. When I saw him down in Jersey, I'd brought up when I had seen him live in California for Fat Man Beyond with him and Mark Bernardin. And although at the time I think it was still Fat Man on Batman. And like when I saw him, I like kind of brought it up, and he like smiled, was like, "Oh yeah," like totally knew that he did not recognize me. I have a gut feeling what you were about to tell me went a little differently.
He remembered me. As a matter of fact, it wasn't the fact he remembered me, but
he remembered
we went to VIP, and I turn a corner, and he welcomes everybody with a big hug. And he goes, "Hey, how's it going?" I'm like, "What's going on?" And he goes, "What? No artwork?"
That's amazing.
Story, draw drops. And I was like, what, I don't want it. You know, it was like, but he remembered the artwork. And that was the most important part. And I go, I had nothing. I was like, I was literally, he could have slapped me in the face. Literally slapped me in the face. It was something I was prepared for. So my wife, just quick thinking, slaps me in the arm. She's like, "Show your tattoo."
I like how this story just went. Your wife almost screwed you the first time, and then she saved you the second time.
Yeah.
That's what makes a good one.
I showed him the tattoo, and I was like, I have no artwork set, but I have this. I showed him the tattoo, and he goes, "Oh my God." Now, this meeting is 10 seconds because it's a quick in and out. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. The guy's tired.
A lot of people.
Yeah. And he goes, "Oh my God." He's like, "I've seen Smodco tattoos. I've seen Jay and Silent Bob tattoos. I've seen my signature. That's the first time I've ever seen Ranger Danger."
That's awesome.
And I can definitely tell it filled his heart with glee. And I go to him, "I'm serious about this. I'm dead serious.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm so serious, I got a freaking tattoo. And then we left, and it was just, again, that was the pinnacle of he remembered, knows how serious I am, and now this is, everything's just been, everything happens for a reason. That's what my wife has always told me.
Yeah.
And yeah, so this is the launching of Into the Dangerverse, and it will be, I'm gonna set out a trailer in maybe 1 to 2 weeks, but then again, I've been saying that for about 2 weeks now. So we're very close.
Not to say that like I want all the scoops, but like if you want to give me the inside track on that trailer, I would be more than happy to react to it. And be the first person to react to it.
It's going to be very quick. It's going to be a little bit of tidbits of what I do and how we do it. And,
I'm just saying,
very soon.
Hook your boy up.
I will definitely hook my boy up. Come on.
Well, Mike, I got to tell you, man, I am so excited for you. I've obviously known about this since the last time we talked. So super excited to talk about it out loud. Watching you talk about it, and even though I had to push you to get to the things that I wanted, and our favorite guest stars.
Are you going to sneak in again? No, you're going to sneak in. We're going to close.
Come on in. We're wrapping it up. I want you to come in.
Come on.
But
you
no,
you come on.
No joke, Zachary. Watching your dad just talk about the project that he's working on and how happy that made him just made my entire day. So, Mike, I am super, super excited for you, buddy. I can't wait to see everything that you're doing with the Into the Dangerverse stuff and the Ranger Danger stuff. I think it's a brilliant idea. I think it's, something that no one ever wanted to touch before, and now you're kind of giving it maybe a place to
You love me? Yeah.
And,
I love you too.
Oh, good God. I'm not even going to finish saying anything else. That's how you wrap up a show, man. The love between a father and his son, that broke my heart. But no joke. Honestly, seeing how happy this makes you, and seeing how excited you are to get working on it, I'm just super pumped for you. I hope really good things come from it. And if not, know you at least got one person that is going to be looking forward to watching all this stuff anytime you post it. Because I'm so
absolutely. I'm very blessed with the life I have, and you know what? It's just going to get better. That's it. And you know what, my friends, I have to give thanks to you. And the good things are going to happen.
Yeah, right.
If it
I feel it in my
sky's the limit, or the limit's the sky.
Right. No, yes. So
turkey now.
I am super excited for you, man. Thank you so much for coming back. I'm glad you're feeling better. I'm glad we were able to finish this up finally. Zachary, thank you for coming on, buddy. It was really nice to have you pop in a couple times. Next time I have your dad on the show, we're going to pull up a seat there for you, and we'll talk about some Despicable Me. How's that sound?
You want to do like the Minions 2 or something like that?
Yeah.
You want to do a review?
Yeah.
All right.
Cool. So yeah, there you go. Something to look forward to. Next time Mike comes around, we'll bring Zachary on. We'll talk a little movie action with him. Mike and Zachary, thank you so much for stopping by the C-Man Cinema Sit-Down Margarita Monday Meetups. But no margaritas today. It's very early in the morning. I've been drinking iced tea. Mike's got a child over there. He's drinking coffee. But nonetheless, it is a margarita meetup. A Monday Margarita Meetup. Mike, thank you so much for coming on. Seriously, buddy, I really appreciate it. Can't wait to talk to you down the road. Good luck with everything for you.
Thank you, Corey. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, man. That is it for this edition of Margarita Monday Meetup Podcast over here at the C-Man Cinema Sit Down. As I said, thank you so much for my buddy Mike coming on. As always, if you've enjoyed our conversation, please give us a little thumbs up action. If you want to come and you haven't yet and show a little support for the old Cinema Sit Down and the Margarita Meetups, you can do that by jumping somewhere over that direction and hitting that subscribe button. And until next time, man, for Mike Driscoll, his son Zachary, I have been the C-Man. I am signing off. Peace!
Well, as I live and breathe, you still here? Check out a video like this one or this one and hit the subscribe button so you can get alerts and check out everything the C-Man's got at the Cinema Sit Down.